So thank you so much for joining us for our latest Tadamon Talks. I'm Svetla. I'm Svetla Baiva, Communications Lead with UNDP Europe and Central Asia, and I'm going to be today's moderator. We currently have Arabic translation with us, so make sure to select what you need from the control panel at the bottom of the screen. That's the globe icon. And if you're here with us for the very first time, our Tadamon Talks webinar series explores ways to empower civil society. We look at ways of embracing alternative finance, new technologies, and other best practices. And in our past series, we've explored a range of different topics from good crowdfunding tactics and storytelling. We featured several of our wonderful crowdfunding champions. We've looked into digital transformation for nonprofits and the future of health tech. So our series is powered by Tadamon, which, as you know, is a cross-regional community platform for civil society empowerment. It's sponsored by the Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development and managed by the Islamic Development Bank and implemented by the United Nations Development Program. So for this month's Tadamon Talks, and we'll come back, we've had a bit of a break, we'll be exploring on one hand some of the latest trends and groundbreaking ideas that are driving our transition to a green and brighter future, from renewable energy projects and circular economy practices to conservation efforts and green technology innovations. On the other hand, we're going to be looking at, what are the innovative funding models and investment strategies that are emerging that can turn these ideas into real initiatives, impactful initiatives on the ground. But before we dive into our core part of our program today, I'd like to share one really exciting new opportunity with Tadamon. We've currently launched the Tadamon Green Crowdfunding Academy, which is an intensive training program for civil society organizations from 32 eligible countries. So this academy is going to be specifically tailored for those of you that are looking at how to fund green projects and initiatives that are addressing specifically environmental or climate challenges. So the deadline is for this application is coming up. It's October 23rd. My colleagues are going to drop information about this opportunity in the chat. And it's exactly within this context that we're organizing this Tadamon Talks today, as we wanted to give you a glimpse into the different forms of funding or financing that are that already exist, but that are also emerging around climate and environmental initiatives. So as I mentioned, this webinar is going to be in English with translation in Arabic. We're also recording this session and streaming it live on Facebook. So feel free to go to Tadamon's Facebook page to share. And before we dive into the core session, I'd like to give our partners at Islamic Development Bank the floor to share a couple of short welcoming remarks.
Thanks, Svetla.
Thank you, Ismail. Over to you.
Thank you. I am Ismail Muhammad, the program coordinator for Tadamon. I am delighted to welcome you all to this important event of Tadamon Talk series number 14. Oh, okay, yeah. Can you hear me? I thought an interruption came in.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, okay, let me just say what I said. I am Ismail Muhammad, the program coordinator for Tadamon. And I'm really delighted to welcome you all to this number 14 Tadamon Talks event under the theme Greenovation, bringing environmental solutions to life. In fact, everyone who is here today who participate this event, especially particularly the CSOs, there is an opportunity for you to actually learn how to develop and implement through the discussion, obviously, how to develop and implement new and innovative solutions to environmental challenges that we face today. It's a critical part of our effort to create a more sustainable future, of course, to align with the Sustainable Development Goals and also to contribute to enhancing the quality around environment and etc. Tadamon CSOs, this plays a vital role in this particular area. especially they are at the forefront of developing and implementing new solutions to environmental challenges in their communities. There are examples in Tadamon platform that you can see how actively they have been actually participating or contributing to actually sustain the environment. This event today is an opportunity for you and also for us, all of us, to learn about the latest trends and also groundbreaking ideas in Greenovation, and also being innovative, coming up with new solutions to actually manage the challenge that we face. I encourage you, in conclusion, I encourage you all to take part in this discussion openly, raise questions that you want, contribute to the discussion, and also to network with the other CSOs and representatives and people in the panel, and also us, both team from UNDP and ISDB, ISFD. In conclusion, together, I think we can help to bring environmental solutions to life. And thank you for being here today. I hope you all enjoyed this event, this great talk, Tadamon number 14 talks. Back to you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Ismail. So now we get to go into the core part of our session. We're supposed to be joined by two speakers. Unfortunately, one of our speakers has dropped out at the very last minute due to unforeseen circumstances. But we have wonderful Diana Salvemini with us. She is the Global Coordinator and Technical Advisor at UNDP GEF, which is a program that provides financial and technical support to local civil society and community-based organizations, particularly in regard to addressing global environmental issues. We don't have our second speaker today, who is Nuno Jorge. He is the CEO and founder of Go Parity, one of the leading green crowd investing platforms. But first, I would like to give, before we have a little discussion later on, I'd like to give the floor to Diana, who's going to walk us through the work that she does and give a series of examples and highlight some of the potential opportunities for civil society organizations, including those of you that are here. So over to you, Diana. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for this invitation, and really, it's really a pleasure to be here today and joining Tadamon this morning, this afternoon and evening for most of you. I'm Diana Salvemini. I'm the Global Technical Advisor with the UNDP Nature Hub within the Bureau for Policy and Program Support. I will be presenting a brief presentation today and looking forward to the discussion later during the Q&A. I hope everyone can see my presentation. My presentation today is focused on scaling up support to local action for nature and climate. I will focus on three items. First, why local action is critical and the importance for local action for our recently launched Nature Pledge and Climate Promise. UNDP's strategy and approach for local action, and providing some example of programming opportunities for indigenous peoples, local communities, civil society organization to deliver on local action for nature and for climate. So first of all, our planet faces a silent storm. These challenges don't just harm the environment, but they impact the very fabric of our communities. The impacts are mostly felt at the grassroots level, where lives and livelihoods depends on the well-being of our ecosystem. However, amidst these challenges, there's also an untold story of resilience, of innovation, as well as the power of local action. In fact, local actors are not just simply beneficiaries of development of systems, but in fact, they're vanguards, they're custodians, and the agents for change, and a driving force for nature positive and a climate positive future. So they contribute with innovation, powerful local action and initiatives, and it's really a pleasure to be joining by so many organizations on the ground here today. I'm very much looking forward to continuous collaboration with all of you in the future under a number of different programs and opportunities that we're currently supporting. In terms of the power of local action, it's important to highlight that UNDP has recently launched a nature pledge. This is a multi-year high ambition corporate commitment to accelerate the global environmental benefits and for the benefit of people, planet, peace, and prosperity. The local action role in this nature pledge is significant, both in terms of supporting a value shift, so supporting in terms of promoting new narrative and new behaviors that will be supporting the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, but also in terms of an economic and finance shift that is needed for the protection of nature. In fact, the local actors should be at the core of the effort to ensure that nature solutions are supported via financial and human capital by decision makers. And finally, a policy and practice shift that aims to deliver at scales on the ground and can only succeed with the involvement and the direct role in decision making by local actors on the ground. The need to support local priorities through devolved decision making and through devolved finance has been long discussed in a number of global forums as being central for the effective implementation of programming and activities on the ground. However, much of the international climate funds and nature funds as well are still working through a business as usual scenario where most of the resources are not necessarily trickle down at the local level. In fact, for example, a recent study from IAD suggested that less than 10% of the funding committed for climate financing is directly reaching the local level. Even when finance is committed at the local level, there is a large disparity between the local actors that are engaged with key social groups, including women, indigenous peoples, and youth, persons with disabilities facing structural exclusion. It's really interesting then to see the latest announcement that have been made at the global level. For example, the newly created Global Biodiversity Fund, which was launched at the GEF Assembly recently, that includes an aspirational targets of having at least 20% of the funding being focused at the local level. In terms of UNDP's approach to local action, UNDP's focuses its support along three action pathways. One is focused on empowerment, so supporting, strengthening indigenous peoples, local communities, civil society organization through collective action. So through empowering action for advocacy as well as inclusive governance, and the work that organizations like the one that have joined during the webinar today is absolutely critical in this dimension. A second action pathway, which is supported by UNDP local action programming, is focused on resilience. So supporting local actors in building the socio-ecological resilience and productivity of the rural and urban landscapes where they live. And finally, a third action pathway is focused on investment. So transforming financial flows to local actors to accelerate and sustain local collective action to achieve this, the SDGs, as well as other key targets. There are a number of key principles that support UNDP's local action offer as well as programming. UNDP strongly believe in having a whole of society approach where civil society plays an important role alongside government as well as the private sector to support development solutions. In fact, activities that are supported by our programming work as a trusted convener for civil society, government, and private sector, to work together towards integrated solution. One of the principles and overall overarching framework is focused on a integrated landscape and seascape approach, where different actors are working together in the target landscapes to come up with a series of overall objectives to sustain global environmental benefits as well as sustainable livelihoods, and work together through collective action to achieve these goals and actions. So our programming efforts is really focused on strengthening the multi-stakeholder decision-making processes that are taking place in the target landscapes, defining what are the major climate change vulnerabilities, climate land use impacts, and identify a number of objectives that can be enhanced and supported for achieving the resilience of the socio-ecological production landscapes. These activities can be funded by different donors and can be supported by different financial solutions. So UNDP really works as a convener to identify the main objectives to be achieved at the landscape level. And I'll be happy to bring in additional examples later on during the Q&A section. In terms of the overall UNDP support to local action and programming activities, UNDP building on 30 years of experience and successful support for local action. UNDP is significantly committed to expand the size and the scope of its support to local action, and to really build on 30 years of experience in this area of programming. UNDP has implemented multiple local action initiatives, directly channeling funds to the ground, to indigenous peoples and local communities. And these initiatives are supported by different donors, including the GEF, Australia, Germany, Japan, the European Union, and others as well. One of these initiatives is the GF Small Grants Program. Since 1992, UNDP has been implementing the GF Small Grants Program. This is a corporate program of the GF, and SGP has supported over 20,000 CSO to support 27,000 projects in over 135 countries. We're currently active in 127 countries. This program is one of the longest serving and largest program of support for local action for indigenous peoples and local communities on the ground, and is also an effective delivery mechanism and social inclusion platform to support the CBOs and CSO on the ground. The important feature of this program is that in each participating country, there is a civil society-led National Steering Committee, which is composed of a majority of members of civil society organizations. You are not familiar with the GEF Small Grants Program, I would strongly suggest to look at our website. I will later include in the chat the link to our website. We have a SGP National Coordinator on the ground that can direct you towards potential funding opportunities and call for proposal that are being launched in the coming months and in the coming years as well. The SGP value proposition, this is a strategic global platform for community-based action. It's an incubator of innovative solutions. It focuses on critical landscapes and seascape, and is also focusing on social inclusion and towards maximizing the global environmental benefits. More than 40% of our grantees are coming from youth. There is a strong support on gender mainstreaming. There is a more than 20% focus of supported projects that are being led directly by indigenous peoples organizations as well. In terms of the SGP strategic and integrated approach, as I mentioned, this is operating under an overall framework of a integrated landscape and seascape approach, and has a number of key priorities, key strategic initiatives and priorities that focus on sustainable agriculture and fisheries and food security, low carbon energy access and co-benefits, community-based threatened ecosystem and species conservation, but also local to global coalitions in chemicals and waste management, catalyzing sustainable urban solutions, as well as community-based adaptation. In addition to the GF Small Grants Program, the UNDP has been able also to support indigenous peoples, local communities, and civil society organizations by attracting a number of non-GF financing, which is also delivered through this mechanism. So a number of different partnerships are presented today, and again, happy to share additional information. One of these partnership is the community-based adaptation program. Currently, a third phase of the program has been launched. There are a number of participating countries, and I believe some of you participants today are also coming from these countries. So encourage you to reach out. The focus is on climate resilience in the Asia-Pacific region through inclusive, community-based, and locally led adaptation. Another important initiative is the COMDEX Satoyama Initiative program. We are currently at the fourth phase of the program that has been recently launched. The focus again is in supporting integrated landscape and seascape management. And this phase 4 that was recently launched in Montreal, the CBD COP, will seek to catalyze and driven integrated local action and provide concrete contribution to the implementation of the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. The program also contributes and supports the implementation of national biodiversity strategies and action plan at the country level. There are a number of incredible examples and publication, but also guidance material that has been developed during the implementation of the last few phase of this program. There are a number of countries that are currently included in the fourth phase, and we expect this program to be under implementation until 2027. And finally, another initiative that I would like to flag in today is the Adaptation Innovation Marketplace, which is focused on accelerating innovative technologies, practices, and business models for transformative climate action. This is very much a focus in terms of supporting the scaling up and acceleration of initiatives that can be also linked up to potential opportunities in terms of private sector financing. And so the idea is really to support those innovative solutions that can be further scale up, and the Adaptation Innovation Marketplace can work as a bridge facility to accelerate and incubate solutions to reach the investable stage and link them to public and private financing opportunities. One of the examples under the Adaptation Innovation Marketplace is the Adaptation Fund Climate Innovation Accelerator, funded by the European Union. So this is another opportunity that I would like to flag in today. I'll stop here and looking forward to further discussion today.
Thank you so much for this wonderful overview of the different programs that you have and the different opportunities. I think there are already a lot of interesting questions coming up in the chat. People who are interested in learning more about the Small Grants Program and the other initiatives that you mentioned. It would be great if you can share those. We also have our second speaker today with us, Nuno Jorge. He is the CEO and founder of GoParity, which is one of the largest platforms for crowd investing around green projects. And I'd just like to hand over the word to him. He's just going to walk us through what is GoParity, what is crowd investing, what are some of the emerging kind of examples around of successful projects from that. just so that we can get a sense of this different approach to financing green projects. Over to you, Nuno.
Thanks, Svetla, and hi, everyone. Also, sorry that I joined a bit late, but I was lucky enough to apparently have joined on time. I have a small presentation about GoParity that I can share. But I was also thinking if it would make sense, maybe you know, Svetla, to give first a broader picture about the crowdfunding and what options there are, and then maybe going into detail into ours. I don't know.
I think the audience is relatively aware of crowdfunding, but maybe what is specific to your platform and what's different, that would be interesting for us to know.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Then I'll start with the presentation directly. Okay. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
No.
No?
Now we can see something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see it. Thank you.
Okay, good. So as Svetla mentioned, I'm one of the founders of GoParity. And GoParity is an impact investing app that allows people and companies to invest in projects that contribute towards the sustainable development goals. Now, I usually try to make the presentations a bit interactive. I'm not sure if it's going to be easy now, so maybe I should pass on a bit of slides, but if you want to take a risk, my first question would be, what do you think this work of art is? And you can answer on the chat if you want. I won't make you suffer by being here waiting for volunteers to reply. I can see in Haidana's face that she knows what this is. I would be hoping for that. But yeah, so this is the evolution of the global mean temperature on the surface of Earth in the past 200 years. So this is just a visual way that an artist found to represent what's been going on with our planet. And as you can imagine, the redder or the darker it is, then it means the warmer it has been on our planet. Actually, I was just looking at the stats this morning, and in 2023, we already have 3 records. We have June, July, and September as the hottest months ever, as in hottest June, hottest July, and the hottest September ever on the average temperature on Earth. Right, sorry. I'm gonna pass on to this. This is all about climate change and how long we've been trying to put some efforts to solve a problem that apparently we can't get together and solve. But of course, as we all know, we have added other problems to our planet, not only environmental problems such as pollution or deforestation, but we also added a lot of inequality to our context. And even though progress has been very significant, there's still a lot of social challenges that we need to tackle together. Now, we don't know what the solution is, but we know that one part of the solution, or at least all the solutions, will very likely require money, right? So what we thought is, okay, so if we need money for whatever problems we want to solve, what can we do to make sure that our money is being used for good and is being directed towards those issues? And the first question is, of course, where do we keep our money? We as citizens, what do we do with it? And typically, we keep our money in banks, right? And when money is in a bank, we don't really know what that money is doing. We know that it's being used. It might or might not be generating money for us, depending on if it's invested or not. But we don't have a say in what our money is being used for. And so even when we think money is sitting in a bank account, it's actually being used. And this is the kind of empowerment that crowdfunding can bring. Actually, there was a study done about this. It's a really interesting report. If you're curious about it, it's called the Carbon Bankroll Report. And they have estimated that for every $1,000 that is sitting in a bank account, 126 kilograms of CO2 is emitted per year to the atmosphere. So even when money is sitting in a bank, it might be having a climate impact, and not only climate, of course. We also know that the United Nations estimates that we need to invest $5 to $7 trillion every year in order to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And another piece of bad news is that this number is growing bigger and bigger because we are not evolving as fast as we should as a society, which means I can give you an example. I think when I started, we were using the 2 to 3 trillion per year when I started my journey as an entrepreneur, let's say. Now we're talking about 5 to 7, and the number will keep growing probably until we have to face that we have failed or something changes really fast. The important part is there is enough money to do this. And if we look only at European household bank accounts, I don't have the stats for other parts of the world. Actually, I do. I think in the US, it's around $11 trillion that is sitting on families' bank accounts. We know that there is enough money if we want to put it to it just on the side of citizens, of people, if we want to choose how we use our money and to know that it's being used to solve the challenges we face. We also know, that's another piece of good news, that the younger the generation, the more they are willing to invest in causes that they care about. And you can see here a bit of data on how this distribution is evolving for the younger the generations are. So what do we propose as GoParity? Our goal, and we exist in order to provide people with the opportunity to use their money for good. What does this mean? What do we advocate for? We're talking about shifting the uses of money and how it is traditionally used. Talking about changing from fossil fuels investments to renewable energy investments, from speculation to the real economy, from intensive farming to regenerative organic farming, from fast fashion to circular fashion, and several other examples that can be given for what using money for good means. After all, what we do is we only fund projects and we only launch projects in our platform that contribute directly to the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm not going to go into detail about what impact in investing is. I think it's a bit implicit, but it's about placing money where it can have a positive impact in the environment and people. I'm not sure if this is gonna work, so I'm gonna move on. This is a video that I can share later. It's just a video explaining what GoParity does. And all of this is the context in which we created GoParity. That, as I said, we provide funding for companies and also civil society initiatives, organizations in this case, because they have to be established, for their projects that contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. So as an individual, you can go to GoParity and lend, starting with only €5 to different projects. We have projects already a bit all over the world. I'm going to share that with an interest. So thinking of the whole framework of crowdfunding, where you can donate to companies, you can invest with a reward. So when you donate money, but you're not actually donating, you're giving money in expecting a reward, which can be an early stage product or something. You can lend money to a company and earn interest. and you can do equity crowdfunding, which means you get some shares, or you get to purchase some shares of a project of your choice. In our case, we do the lending part, so it's called crowd lending. And on the one side, we have the investors, who can be people or companies, that lend money to projects that can be companies, different types of organizations and entrepreneurs, that will then pay back the loan with an interest. So this is for now, the only way that we operate. So when you lend money through GoParity, you already know for how long you're lending the money, how much you can lend, and how much you will get back from that loan. On top of this, there's always the impact side. So as a user, you also know for all your projects how much impact you have had. Let's say how many tons of CO2 you helped avoid, how many jobs you helped create, how many people in vulnerable situations you helped empower, and all of this is fully transparent, available on the app for each project, and then for your own investments. But also, if you go to our website, you see that there's an impact section where you have the overall view for all our portfolio of projects. We have already funded more than 300 projects, a bit all over the world. As I said, I have some examples here. They're always visible on our website. Svetla, you let me know when I need to wrap up, or when it's 5 minutes to close or 2 minutes to close. Please let me know, okay?
Super. Around 2 minutes is great. Thanks.
Okay. So first project is we have funded solar power in Uganda, for example, in places where there is no electricity or where electricity is unstable. We funded dairy cooperatives so that they can use solar power and not rely on diesel generators anymore. So now they have renewable energy that is also clean locally, because there's no diesel generator working all the time. There's also less sound pollution. And then there's a lot of side benefits to this that I'd be happy to share if you're curious, because it's a beautiful story that I didn't tell, but sometimes the most important impact even comes from things that we didn't think that we were going to facilitate. We have worked with cocoa farmers in Ecuador, cooperative farmers. We have done a lot of solar power investment in Colombia, working with a Swedish company that develops projects there for self-consumption. And the one you see here, the one that's called Oceano Fresco, is sustainable aqua farming for clams. And this one is in Portugal. These are just some examples. As I said, we have projects across three continents. A lot in Europe, of course, but in Africa we also have already Uganda and Kenya, and then Colombia, Brazil, Peru, and Ecuador in South America. Biggest chunk of our projects is sustainable energy, so we do a lot of solar power and some energy efficiency, but there's also quite some water, social economy, and business in transition. That is what we consider projects, for example, electric mobility or circular economy. We also did our math when we saw this study, and we realized that for every $1,000 that are invested in GoParity nowadays, if you had invested in all our projects, you'd be avoiding 1,428 kilograms of CO2 per year. This means 10 times as much as the emissions from that money being stocked in a bank account. So if you look at it the other way around, if only 10% of your liquidity is invested in GoParity or a platform such as GoParity, you could have a virtually carbon neutral bank account. But of course, it's not just about the carbon emissions. We know that we generate more than 20 gigawatt hours of clean energy. We avoid 20,000 tons of CO2 every year. We already helped create almost 5,000 jobs, and we have positively impacted more than people. Our project also helps sustainably manage almost 1,500 hectares of water and land. This is a bit of our evolution per year. Of course, 2023 has not come to an end yet, but we are just about to reach 30 million euros invested through the platform. And we have around 40,000 users in GoParity. This is the story that I was mentioning before, but I'm not going to tell it now. And so this is it. We are GoParity, and we provide financing for impactful projects that empower people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nuno. There's a bunch of questions coming in with regard to GoParity, but before we go to them, I'd like to have the next couple of minutes to have a little discussion with while Dan is still with us. Specifically, we mentioned different programs, different opportunities for civil society organizations, and I mean, specifically with your work, Diana, you've had the program over the last 30 years has worked with, I think it was mentioned, over 20,000 projects. I was hoping that you can give an example of some of the kind of success stories that you've seen, just briefly, to get a sense of, what are kind of the challenges being addressed, what are kind of the innovative approaches that are being used in addressing the climate crisis and environmental degradation.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I can come in. No, I saw also a number of questions for you, so happy to pass it on to you back. No, thank you, Svetla. Thank you so much. As you say, we have 30 years of experience in supporting indigenous peoples and local communities on the ground, and our approach has really grown in the past 30 years. Not only to fund isolated community-based initiatives on the ground, but to really look at more of a portfolio programmatic approach for programming. So really looking in a specific geographic area, how can we support on one side enhancing of ecosystem services, but also strengthening the sustainability of production system, while also developing and diversifying livelihoods and income generation. And all of this can only happen if we also strengthen institution and governance systems in place. So really through a real a whole of society approach, where we strengthen and empower the voices of our local community to participate in decision-making processes. One of the example that I'll be happy to share is the example from Turkey in the Dutch Bosporus Peninsula, and I'll be happy to share a link to one of our photo stories. We've been supporting initiatives, again, not isolated projects, but a number of integrated solutions to protect marine biodiversity through better fisheries management, supporting traditional agricultural products, and also encouraging the collaboration between government ministries with local NGOs. One of our grantees has recently also received the Equator Prize for an initiative called Women Who Fish, the Fisherwomen of Turkey, which has been supported by the Mediterranean Conservation Society, which has supported the mapping of the numbers of women fishers in the peninsula to respond to the need, but also ensure inclusion in decision-making processes around sustainable small-scale fisheries and marine conservation. So a number of more than 120 women have been trained in sustainable fisheries, but really the powerful voices has been used in terms of linking up with local authorities, including local mayor, the provincial director or minister of food and agriculture, and really recognizing the work of women, empowering them, giving them voice in decision-making and committees. We have, multiple of experiences and stories across the countries that are, participating today, and happy to share more information in the chat.
Thank you so much, Diana. So Diana has dropped a lot of links earlier on. We will include these also in our follow-up email to everyone, so that they can learn more about the program. And just a very quick question for the audience. Is it through mainly global calls that you operate, or do you work mainly with focal points within each country?
Yeah, thank you, Cinzia. Thank you for this question. So we have, our program is really on the ground. So the call for proposal launched at the national level. We have GP national coordinators on the ground that act as focal point for a number of funding sources. So it'll be really important to reach out to our national coordinators on the ground. I included the link in the page where you can find where we work, where we have additional information. So they will be able to provide information both in terms of what type of activities are eligible for funding, but also in terms of like the timing of call proposals when they are launched. I can also highlight that recently the Just Small Grants program at the GF Council meeting in Brazil just received approval for the next round of funding, which is expected to be launched next year. So please, reach out to our SGP national coordinator in your country.
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of our conversation today. So going back to Nuno, there's a bunch of questions that have been streaming in with regard to how can our audience be part of Go Parity? I mean, does it work? Do you work in particular countries, or can anyone around the world start a campaign on your platform?
Yeah. Virtually anyone can work with us, of course, but there's some requirements that need to be assured. The first is we need to bear in mind that we operate with debt, so with loans. So this means we can only fund companies that either or projects that either already generate some revenue or have a very robust business case or subsidies or something that we know that they will be able to pay back the investors. Because as on the one side we have organizations and projects, on the other side there's people that are putting their money there because they want to do something good with it, but also with the expectation of getting it back. So this would be the first criteria: is you need to be formally established and to have foreseeable cash flows in the near future. Then in what concerns geographies, as you have seen, we can fund projects all over the world. Our main difficulty regarding this is when we have some projects that are, let's say, small projects in one new country, it's hard for us to do a proper risk analysis and the due diligence, and to have it all contractually well established. So what we tend to do is either we have a local partner that will take care of this. We have several different partners, and the UNDP could be one. Or we work with a European vehicle, which means, for example, the example I gave in Colombia, the company we lend money to is actually a Swedish company, but with the commitment to deploy the investment in their projects in Colombia. This is because if things go wrong, let's say the company goes bankrupt or there's some problem, it's easier to claim the debt from a company that is in Europe than from a company that is in Colombia for us. Well, and the other requirements would be, of course, the need to be a project that is in the sustainability space. So we only fund projects that are within that space, and that we can monitor what positive impact they have.
Thank you so much, Nuno. Since we're coming close to the end of the hour for this Tadamon Talks, we're going to be wrapping up our conversation now. But before we do, I want to give the word over to one of our colleagues at Tadamon platform, Haydina Rukavina, To share a little bit more information, I mentioned in the very beginning, we have a new opportunity, the Green Crowdfunding Academy, but she's going to share some more details in terms of how to apply. Over to you.
Svetla, I don't know, sorry. Do you mind if I just no, I don't want to leave people without replies. And there's a very concrete question: if we fund mobility projects and if we fund cook stuff projects,
We can write it in the chat.
Okay, but we do. The answer is we do. We might have our first cook stuff project very soon, and we have already funded different types of mobility projects. Sorry.
Thanks, Nuno. Thanks, Svetla. Maybe I can share my screen just to show you. So I believe everybody knows there is Tadamon and Tadamon platform and website. You are more than welcome to visit and to check this link here. Go to here, Program Crowdfunding Academy, Future is Green. So this is our new open call for project for the Crowdfunding Academy, which is training program to develop your crowdfunding campaigns. It is an intensive program, a minimum 8 weeks with our mentors to work on your projects, and projects we are looking for are related to green and environmental projects. Here you will see the topics that we are looking for: renewable energy, reduce, recycling, climate change, air pollution, sustainable agriculture. If you can recognize your organization and you recognize these topics, we are advised you to apply. One of the requirements, as you know, this is usual requirements, that you need to be from 33 eligible countries. This is a list. I see that many people can't find their own countries, so please check the countries. 32 countries. Very important for us that you are registered in that country and that you have a profile on Tadamon, because if you have a profile on Tadamon, this is the way where you can find application form. So please, if you don't have an account on Tadamon, go on sign up, register. Very important information for you to have a registration document upload, because this is for us very important in order to pre-approve you. Once you are pre-approved from us, you can proceed with application form. Application form, it is a form that you need to fill in with information about your project, about your team, the funds that you need for your project. Please fill in if you are interested by October 23. And remember that after the submission, we will have a period of time where we are going to do verification and selection of CSOs. So bear with us. All information, if you applied, you will get by email. And if you are going to be one of the selected, you will go with us through the process of training with our mentors, combination of the online session, webinars with different experts on developing your campaigns. You will have assignments in order to create your crowdfunding campaign, and you will have a mentorship. We will try to have a mentorship in 3 languages. First, mainly mentorship is going to be in English, French, and Arabic. So you are more than welcome to join and to apply. I think this is it for all. Briefly, all information you have on the website. If you need more information, please reach out to us through email or social media. And we are looking forward to receive your applications.
Thank you so much, Haydena. I've just dropped that link in the chat for all of you. Once again, you receive it over email as well. So we will be wrapping up our Tadamon Talks today. Thank you so much, Nuno, for joining. And for a whole audience, I mean, as you can see, we gave you a bit of an overview of the different avenues of mobilizing finance for green initiatives, from crowd investing, from crowdfunding with Tadamon, from traditional routes such as grant making. And there's a lot of opportunities that are popping up now in the last years, and there's an opportunity to work and address really pressing challenges at the moment, especially in countries which are disproportionately affected. So thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, you can reach us over email, and stay tuned until our next Tadamon talks. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.